All right, everybody. I've got Bryan Gonzalez here with me today. Super excited to have him on. It's been really fun mentoring him and helping him get his first deals and working a giant lead that I'm sure we'll touch on. Hopefully this comes through. Hopefully we'll actually have him back on the show and talk about that giant deal in the next few months as it cashes out. He may be the new record holder of the biggest deal I've ever mentored. So hopefully that happens. But let's get into Bryan. Why don't you tell the listeners, where you're from, your background, what got you into real estate in the first place?
Yeah, my name is Bryan Gonzalez. I'm from California. My background actually, I started working as a loan processor in a mortgage company called Ditech a few years ago. And then I got into traditional real estate and then now I'm wholesaling basically. Yeah.
Gotcha. So you did get your real estate license and go down that path?
Yeah, so actually, as a loan processor, I guess that's what I call it traditional. As a loan processor, I had to do the whole courses, etc., with the bank that I used to work with. Yeah.
Okay. So you did have some real estate background before, which
Yeah,
is
some in the loan side basically.
gotcha. So you wanted to get into wholesaling. So what did you do to figure out how to do wholesaling? Before you met me, what have you done, experience, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I've actually reached out to a couple of obviously investors that have experience through just social media. I reached out to them and I had to buy their course basically, but some of them were not a big hit, some were. And then to be honest, books, that's what helped me. There's a book called Fix, Flip, and I think it's Buy, Fix, and Flip.
Mm-hmm.
And then the real estate investor, millionaire real estate investor, I believe it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And just started reading those and just took action at that point.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So tell me about that journey. So when did you start that journey of reading those books and podcasts and all that stuff?
Yeah. So I started reading those books 3 years ago. Started 3 years ago while I was working as a loan processor. And obviously these books were big, and they were new to me. So I wasn't aware of what I should do, what I should not do, and it was a challenge, but I'm grateful for that because I learned a lot. I've learned that anything is possible, to be honest, and just decided to read, take action, and went from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I want you guys to understand how important it is to understand that so many of the time people are successful because they're willing to educate themselves and are willing to take action. So Bryan not only read books but he spent money on coaches and mentors. So how much money did you spend total on mentors before you met me?
Um, I would say maybe about 10,000,
Yeah.
possibly $12,000. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that was painful because you didn't ever do any deals, right?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. I didn't. Well, to be honest, it was just a leap of faith, I guess you could say, in not only myself, but in the person. So it was scary. And I didn't know, back then there was no like podcast like there is now, like
Yeah.
Wholesaling Inc. That's a big one that I listen to at least
They're
daily, at
amazing.
least
Yeah. Their
once.
podcast's
Yeah, once a
incredible.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and there was nothing like that I could, even go on YouTube and try to listen to them, but I didn't know about them. I didn't know about the resources until recently, basically. And that was my $12,000. I didn't do no deals with them, unfortunately, but I think it was something to learn from. Yes, it was $12,000 out of my pocket that I didn't have, but oh, I did have, but I didn't really, you know what I mean? Like
That's
I could
not
have
that's not how you wanted to spend it, right? You wanted to make that money
exactly,
back. No, I get it. I get
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I rather just use that now that I know. I rather just use that for marketing and hiring cold callers or using it for postcards, things like that. So
Yep.
I learned from that experience, and I believe it was a expensive experience, but a well worth experience.
Right. One of the that's so cool that you bring that up because I spent tons of money. I mean, I
Yeah,
spent so much money on coaching before I ever did a deal. And it was very painful, right? Because you think like I'm going to hire a mentor because that mentor is going to bring me more value than I pay, right? So you
exactly.
expect to have a return on your investment.
Yeah.
And I take my students' money with this huge burden of responsibility of making sure they get so much more than I receive. So, and I do that because I felt the pain, right,
Yeah.
of buying stuff that's just information, buying stuff. So could you give listeners advice on what to look for when trying to find a coach before they take their hard-earned money and spend it on a coach? What would you suggest they look for?
Yeah. I think first of all is I guess hearing from other people. I don't know how to put it. Like, I guess in your case, I've heard from you, from Brent Daniels,
Yeah.
which he's a big, a big wholesaler in this industry. And so I guess hearing from somebody else's mouth, like word of mouth is the greatest marketing you could ever
Yeah.
have in your business. So I think that's one. Unfortunately, I didn't know. I just saw pictures, videos or whatever. And I decided, I mean, if they're showing me that there's whatever, showing me checks or whatever it is that they were showing me, or showing me a video of a house. Now I know that you could go to a house and take a video and not even have to purchase it. You're just walking through it and walking, see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're at
And
some other wholesaler's inspection doing video content. Dude, I've
exactly.
had people do that. Like, I'll see someone else's social media post, and they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, just out here doing real estate deals. And it's like, dude, that's the house I'm wholesaling. And they
Yeah, I
didn't
know.
even buy it, dude.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I've learned that along the way, and I was shocked when I knew that, and I
Yeah.
was like, man, they're just taking a video of a house that a wholesaler brought them, which is now what I do.
Yeah.
But that's one of them, obviously. Second of all, I think that you have to sort of the vibe has to be there. You have the connection, I guess you could say. The connection between even though you don't know them personally or physically, it's just through a video you could tell a lot from that, from a
Right.
person. And that's something that I think it was a interview that you and Brent Daniels did with I forgot his name. I think he's from Portland or Oregon, something like that. I think that's the first one I've
Yeah.
heard
Yeah.
from you guys. Yeah.
So yeah, so we actually did a video with him and Brent. So he cold called the deal. So he used Brent as a
Yeah.
coach for cold calling,
Yeah.
which I highly suggest. I did the same course, and then he used my marketing system to generate the list to cold call, right? The drive to
Yeah. Yeah.
dollars list,
Hmm.
and he did a deal. It's $113,000 in income. So he's actually his video is going to be uploaded into YouTube, into our YouTube channel in the next few weeks. So if you're watching this and you wanted to see that case study, you can go see that.
You should definitely see it. Whoever's watching this should definitely see it.
Yeah,
It's
go
a
check
big
out the
one.
YouTube videos, see the case studies, and like Bryan said, like it's so important to hear it from someone else's mouth, right? And so
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
kind of why I'm doing these case studies is first of all, I think it's inspiring. It's
Yeah.
inspiring for other people to see someone that's just barely ahead of where they're at, right? That's just gone through that struggle that they're struggling through. It's one thing to hear me say, hey, you can do this. And I used to be a window washer, and all that's true, right? I've been where you are,
Yeah.
Bryan, and not too long ago. And
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been where all the listeners are. It's a journey that everyone has to
Exactly.
take, but it's really refreshing when it's multiple people from one mentor. So that's awesome advice, is make sure. And I've had some amazing mentors, and I've had some amazing coaches. And I've also had some coaching programs and mentors that I wouldn't suggest. I'm not going to call them out or anything. I'm not going to do that. But
I wouldn't either.
yeah, I'm not going to do that. But I would say that, like you said, it's important to connect and
Yeah.
trust, right?
Yeah.
Because so Tom Kroll, a mentor that I love and trust, he taught me something interesting. He said that for your students to be successful, they have to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
They have to believe in me as a coach.
Yeah.
Right. They have to believe in my process, and
Exactly.
they have to want it enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you don't vibe very well with that mentor, it's going to be really hard to trust him and his process. Right. And then you're
Yeah.
going to lose faith in yourself and lose faith in the process. And it's going to be a lot harder to push through the painful moments.
Like lose faith in yourself. You're not even going to listen to his process or the way that he created deals or the way he got deals, and you're just going to pretend that you know more than that mentor, which is sometimes happens. And that's why the connection is very important. That because it's like building rapport with a seller. You have to have them to trust you first in order for them to open up, basically.
Right.
And that's why I believe that's an important thing. Connection, obviously, results, seeing results, and not only in the mentor but in his other students that I've seen as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because like learning about all this, I got into being a mentor because I truly wanted to give back, right? I think a lot of
Yeah,
people have heard my story, and it's been really interesting how discouraging it can be for me as a mentor to try and sign students up, because for me to make an impact, I have to get them to sign up and take action and buy my course and do the action steps and get to where you're at, right?
exactly. Uh-huh.
And convincing people to trust me, like showing people that I truly care, has been somewhat discouraging for me, right? I've hired mentors to help me through this process, and I'm flying out to Nashville um, in in December to get more mentoring and building a brand. It's called Story Brand, and so I'm investing into myself to make myself a better mentor and a better coach, and to have a bigger impact and a bigger influence. But it's still
Yeah,
discouraging, right? Any venture that you'd go on, it's still discouraging. Like I still want to cry sometimes. Like I've launched with certain affiliates, like certain influencers, and our response hasn't been very good. But it's one thing that I'm learning is they might not vibe very well with who I am, right? Their audience isn't necessarily an audience that fits for me.
yeah,
And so I know that everyone that knows about me, or everyone that learns about me, won't love me or won't love what I offer. And so I think what you brought up is super awesome. I'm glad that you brought that up, the importance of connecting with your
yeah. And not
mentors.
only that, I think as a student, we look at all these courses out there, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, we have so many to pick from, and it's hard sometimes. Like we don't know who to trust. We don't know, especially we have spent so much money prior to that to looking
Right.
for a new mentor. It's kind
Right.
of hard.
Yeah.
And the value I think that you bring is that, first of all, it's not, your course is not thousands and thousands of dollars, and it's very very lucrative. I think it's very it's done. I've seen a lot of results more than other courses that I've taken, and
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that because I'm here and you're interviewing me or whatever. It's the truth.
Right.
um we're going to be
Well,
speaking
we're
obviously
gonna
on yeah
interview on
yeah
your
yeah
first few
yeah
deals,
yeah yeah
right?
yeah yeah
Right? Like, yeah, we did get
yeah
your results. That's why you're
yeah
here, right?
exactly
Right.
yeah. But that's one of the things that I guess I could say in regards to that, that we have so many options, yet sometimes we hear bad and good things about them, but then at the end of the day it's like the connection. Like I said, it's very important for a student to have that connection with that
Mm.
individual, in on screen, not really physically, because obviously you're not going to be everywhere, but
Right.
and that's why I decided to join, basically. That's one
Right.
of the reasons. Yeah.
Well, I'm super glad you did. So one thing I'd want to add before we move on and talk about your
Yeah.
first deal and what you're working on towards the future is I want to talk about the importance of finding a mentor that gives step-by-step instruction. Um, so one of the things I struggled with, and what I see a lot of why students struggle with a mentor, is
Yeah.
because there's a lot of coaches that sell information, right? They
Yeah.
package just loads and loads of information, and that stuff's free on YouTube. And information doesn't necessarily get you results, right? Like if you want to get a mentor or a coach in a sport, in a professional sports setting, right? Whatever your sport that you're into, I mean, I'm sure you understand that though there might be strength training coaches, and there'll be, different parts of the game. You're going to have mentors for that. So like for like a tennis player, I'm sure they have coaches that teach them and help them with their form with serving, right? I don't know anything about tennis, but I imagine there's something to that
Yeah.
effect, right?
Yeah. Well, I used to play soccer when I was since from 7 years old to about 15 years old,
Yeah.
and I had different coaches, and all those coaches, they wanted me to become better than I was yesterday, basically,
Yeah.
and
But
that's
they gave
something
you
that's important.
steps, right?
Yeah, step by
They gave
step.
you steps. They
Yeah,
said, no, not like that, like this. Do it like
yeah,
this, like this, like
yeah,
this, like this, because
yeah.
they're trying to get you a certain result, right? To win the
Exactly,
game, to win the championship, whatever it might be.
exactly,
And
exactly.
and, and so when I put together my course, I took out as much information as I could. Right? Like I did my very best to give as little information as possible and just gave instruction.
Yeah,
And plus my course, the way it's set up is each video is you only get a certain amount of content, and then a few days later you get some more. And it takes 16 days, every other day of getting some content, because I want people to get a little bit of content with instruction. Now go do this, right?
Exactly.
And it's step-by-step instruction. And when I get on support calls with my students and I hear their frustrations, my goal is to give them instruction, right? Because if you can guide someone with instruction to results, that's what a true coach is. That's what a true mentor is. And there's so many people that are in the business of selling products to make money, right? They're
Yeah.
not necessarily in the business of making their students, successful. They're in the business of just selling products or courses that
Yeah.
without necessarily the focus of getting people results. So I would be careful of that and make sure it's not just a ton of information. My first course was $10,000 and I got this giant binder, like this thick, with just paperwork and documents. And I learned everything from creative financing to short sales to like just everything. And it was great. I learned a lot and I used some of that education that I got, but I didn't get step-by-step instruction to do deals or how to build out a marketing system. Right. So anyways, we kind of got onto a tangent, but I'm glad we got there. I think that
Yeah.
that's going to be a lot of value to people, especially as they're struggling to figure out like who can they trust, how should they decide who to invest their hard-earned money into. So
Yeah.
even if it's not me, just keep those things in mind that Bryan shared and that I shared as you're out searching for someone, because I truly want people to be successful. And so if they just see this video and this guides them somewhere that they are successful, mission accomplished in my mind. So that's awesome. So Bryan, let's talk about your first deal. So when did you get the lead? So it was actually, let's talk about the course. Like what are like some of the takeaways that you did that you feel like kind of got you to where you started generating motivated seller leads?
Yeah, so one of the things that I did like about your course, prior to getting hiring the other mentors,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have a course like this, step by step. It was more like, here you go, here's the email, and let me give you a list to call, or not even a list to call, a list to send out postcards. And it wasn't like a step by step. It was just me trying to text them or call them, and trying to figure out, what I should do. And basically in your course it was step by step, and like you said, it was the first module. You had to complete it in order to get the next one, and that was very important because that's what I literally did with the book that I had when I started my career. It was read a chapter, try to learn something from it, and take action from that chapter. And that's very important because I learned a lot that way. And I
Oh yeah.
think that's when I started. Obviously, the first the month that you launched was, I believe, in July, right? That's when I got it. Literally, when you launch, I got it. And step by step modules, which was really great. I couldn't go to the next one until I completed something, the previous one, and I took action on that. So I think that was very, very good. I never had a course like that. So that was something new for me. Well, I didn't even know it was out there until obviously until I bought it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think that was a great way of putting your course out that way.
Okay. So you bought it back in July, and then so for the listeners know,
Mhm.
you are in California, but
Correct. Yes.
you're implementing this virtually, meaning you are doing this marketing
Yeah.
and building out this system in a completely different market than you live. So
Exactly. Houston.
yeah, so this man is in California, never has done a wholesale deal before, and he's built a marketing system, taken my marketing system and implemented it in a whole new market, and is doing deals virtually as a newbie.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Like this is so inspirational that this can be done and it is not that hard, right? That you can
Yeah.
do it somewhere else is quite incredible.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So you started, since it's virtual, you had to get a driver. When did you hire that driver? What did you do?
Yeah. So when I got the course, obviously I started driving for dollars out here myself, and also I hired a driver in Houston.
Okay.
And that was literally when I got the course. When I finished the course, maybe at the end of July, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started hiring the driver. I hired the driver. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that first deal. When did that happen? What was the lead like? Tell me everything about that first deal.
In the Philippines. I have so every time I would get a set of leads that day, I would basically, the way that you showed us in the course, I would download them through export them on Excel sheet,
So
and I
so
would send
people
them.
so people understand what he's saying by a lead is he would have his driver drive through the neighborhood and it would create an Excel spreadsheet, right? Following the
Yeah,
tools that I give in the course. Some people
exactly.
might not know what that means. So
Oh yeah,
so
sorry
you
about that.
take
Yeah,
that Excel spreadsheet that has the names and addresses of potential, potential sellers, right? And
exactly.
then what do you do with it?
I send it to a third party batch skip
Batch skip
tracing.com. Yeah, yeah,
tracing.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I do
Yep.
that. And then
Are you using the discount code I give now? The awesome discount?
no, I haven't seen it. No, I haven't seen it. I
Use the discount code DFD. So if you guys need numbers,
Okay.
it's you get them for like 18 cents a phone number. Yeah,
Yeah,
major
but
discount.
previous to that, I was using also another third party. So I now I use batch skip tracing. But yeah,
Yeah, make
um,
sure you use DFD because I just recently got that discount for my students.
oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah, so the driver pinned it, pinned all the leads through that week. And I would export the leads from Deal Machine through with Excel,
Mhm.
and then send them over to my third party. And then obviously once we got that file back, I would cold call them the next day. But like in your course, in regards to postcards, we would hold them off till that Friday or Saturday, and then the
Mhm.
following Monday we would send all the postcards.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you started doing this marketing, and then
Yeah.
where did this lead came from? Drive for Dollars, but did
Yeah.
it come to you through postcards or through cold calling?
Cold calling through my
Awesome.
Filipino caller. Yeah. Yeah. So
Awesome.
what happened? Obviously the first we were building momentum, and then I believe August, the end of August, we got a hit with this deal that we're talking about. Um, Basically, what happened is the cold caller put the information on Podio, and once I got that,
So if those that don't know what Podio is where, it's a customer relations management. It's just
yeah,
where he keeps potential sellers organized so he can stay in touch with following up with them. It's just a
exactly.
software that he can and follow up with them. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I got the email. She emailed me saying, okay, we got this homeowner that's interested. Unfortunately, when I called her, she didn't answer, but I decided not to give up on it. And literally that whole week, I would call her once a day, every single day until I have my notes here until October 3rd. I got a hold of her, and she signed over through DocuSign. Previous to that, we were able to see the house. We were able to look at the pictures. She sent us
And is
pictures.
this one in California or Houston?
Houston, yeah,
Houston. Okay.
yeah, Houston. We asked her for pictures. Well, I asked her for pictures over the phone. She sent them to me. She actually asked her tenant because she didn't live there. It was a landlord. Yeah, she asked her tenant to send me pictures. And then I guess she had a little it's okay. I said, you know what? Give her
You broke
number,
up.
and I would get
You
a
had
hold
a
of him. I
little
spoke with
what?
him.
You
Oh, sorry.
broke up. You said you had a
Yeah,
little.
yeah, yeah. She got frustrated a little bit with me trying to get those pictures. So I got a hold of the tenant. I asked her for her his phone number, and then the tenant was able to send me all the pictures and tell me all the information that I needed to know in regards to the house. And then after that, I ran my numbers. I did my due diligence and decided to make her an offer. We started at I think it was 80,000, and we got her down to 75. It was weird. We started at 80 and we got her down to 75.
Love it. Love it. So you got her down to 75. Once you got that contract, you're virtual. So how did you deal with your cash buyers? Like, how did you sell that purchase contract?
Okay, so the beauty of that is that my driver sometimes also now goes to see the properties, and is able to basically schedule those buyers to go look at the house as well. So that's what,
Perfect.
yeah, we did. Yeah. So
Perfect.
he's sort of my acquisition manager slash driver in a way right now. But yeah.
Slash disposition
Yeah.
slash. Right. No, you're making it work. I
Yeah.
love it, brother.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So all the
Leveraging
above.
their time. That's great.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Good for you.
So yeah.
So you assigned that. How long from under contract to where you sold the contract? How long did that take?
So obviously we sent it over to title prior to showing it to the buyers, but it took about maybe a week Very simple. I didn't even know she paid it off. It was paid off until the title told me, which was great because we didn't have to wait for no payoff. But we just needed to wait for the title commitment, and that's it basically. And it took a week, and then it took another week, I believe, a week and a half, to find the buyer. Obviously, I had several that basically told me, "Oh, you're never gonna get what you want," blah blah blah, or you know how it is.
Yeah.
It's what it is. And yeah, and then I got actually two buyers that were interested, that sort of were at the same number. One of them was hard money. The other one could close in 3 days. So obviously, I took the 3 days. And yeah, and then I got it under contract at. So I got it under contract with the seller at 75, and then under contract with the buyer at 90,000.
Right. So essentially, you sold the purchase contract for 15,000, and then
Exactly.
they closed on it for 75.
Yeah, and that was on October 23rd. Yeah, that I closed.
That's awesome. So you made $15,000
Exactly. Yes.
on a piece of real estate that you never had to close on, right?
Yeah.
That
No.
wasn't even in your own city. Did
No.
you ever personally see the property?
Through my phone.
That's so cool. The world we live in today is so amazing. The technology, it's so cool, dude. Like that is awesome. I've done very few virtual deals. So like my very first deal, the seller was, I never met the sellers, but I did personally go see the house, and now I have a team and I'll close on deals all the time and I'll never see them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll put my own money in. We buy them because I have the money now. I don't wholesale everything anymore. But what you've been able to do, I think, should be so inspiring to others, because
I hope so. Yeah.
It's your first deal. Like it's completely virtual.
Yes. Yeah.
You're right. And you took a marketing system. You took action. Like, I'm so proud of you. I really am. I think it's so awesome. I think you should be proud of yourself.
I am.
Good. Do you have special people in your family that you were able to share this with?
Yeah. My family, my parents. My parents. We went to go out to eat. Well, I took them out to eat, obviously, because I got a nice check. So I'm just basically, I would try to buy myself something, but no, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Let me reinvest this into more marketing in this niche with driving for dollars. So I'm doing that. I'm reinvesting into it. And trying to create more deals as we go. So
that's awesome.
So I did celebrate a little bit, but
No, good. I'm glad you celebrated. That first deal is huge. It's proof of concept. It's a confidence booster. It's like a burden's lifted. Like, I can do this. Bryan Gonzalez can do this,
Yeah. And I never, obviously, prior to this, to taking your course, we would drive for dollars, quote unquote, because we didn't have the system we did. It was just like, oh, look at that house, or look at that house. And I never took action. It was more of like, once your system, well, let me follow this, and results happen. So yeah. So it's all about taking action, basically, when it comes to this niche of driving for dollars. And people say it's not possible. Right. Well, here it is. There's proof that it is possible.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Well, let's just briefly touch on it. I don't want to get too into it because it hasn't closed yet. But you have a deal that should be 6 figures, right?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. I forgot it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's. I don't want to give too many details because it hasn't closed yet. But basically, Bryan had it under contract, was at the closing table. He was going to make over $100,000 on one deal. And at closing table, the title company screwed up and didn't catch something till the very last second.
Yeah,
and he needed a signature from a sibling that his MIA, right? They can't find him. So you've hired a private investigator, and I've been helping you try and figure this out. You're working with an attorney to try and figure out if you can sell it without his signature in some way. So he's working different angles to try and make this happen. But sometimes that's the part of it, and dealing with these hassles and these complications with some of these deals. That's why you get such big paychecks, is because they are complicated, because you are solving such huge problems for these family members, right?
Yeah.
And these property owners. So, I think that's probably enough. I don't want to give too much of that, but but I know that we've personally had calls, and like, I'll call you and be like, hey,
Yeah,
Bryan, how's that deal going? You know, because
yeah.
I'm so excited for you, man. Like,
No, yeah, me too. And I'm excited that you're able to help me through this process because I've never been through this situation basically. So
yeah,
I'm glad that you're there for me, and I'm thankful obviously because you're more experienced than I am in regards to this. So yeah, so hopefully we come back to this and we do another case study and we're able to talk about that deal. I mean, I'm very excited about it. I'm just staying positive and trying to stay motivated in a way
yeah.
because I want to close it and I want to be able to, because this would be my biggest wholesale deal that I've done so far.
So how
Um,
many deals have you done? So you've done the 15, which was your first.
yeah, obviously I've done other like pre-foreclosures, tax delinquent, probate, etc. I've done deals this year so far.
Okay.
Possibly in the last 4 months, I've closed in the other niche. I believe 2 to 3 deals a month so far.
Okay.
Obviously, the other months were like 1 or 2 a month, etc. But trying to implement this, which was great because last month I closed 3 deals. One of them, which is driving for dollars, and with the other niches with cold calling, etc. Yeah.
That's
But
awesome.
I'm implementing I guess, some of the systems that you created in this course with the other niches as well. Because they're
Perfect.
not driving for dollar leads. They're just, the postcards, et cetera, and et cetera.
Right. There's a lot of value because, what I focus on is teaching marketing, and I teach,
Yeah.
hey, the best list is this, but I teach a very organized, automated system to
Yeah.
market to that list and how to build that list. But you could use
Especially
some of those
the,
same strategies to other niche lists, right?
yeah, yeah. Especially the master map, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The map. Oh, that's huge. Like, because the deal machine, for some reason on mine, we have glitches that don't basically highlight the routes. So we
Mm.
use that map to be able to say, okay, we already hit that site, so let's not, now go to the other side, etc. So it's
Right.
kind of it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the master map is something that that we use, and some of our original students like yourself got. But Deal Machine's come up with some new updates where a lot of that stuff is available within Deal Machine.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that system and understanding how to use it is so important. Like it's fantastic.
It is. It is.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Bryan, thank you so much for jumping on here.
No, thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I really appreciate you giving back and sharing your experience. Hopefully this inspires some people to take action and that they can get their first deal as well and have the success they're going for. So,
Yeah, and then whoever watches this, obviously take action and just listen to Zach and just implement whatever he tells you and through his course. And eventually, as you build momentum, you will create deals. And that's what I've learned, and that's what I have proof. Obviously, I don't have a check in front of me, but I have it in my bank account. So yeah, so it works.
all right. All right. Well, thanks, Bryan. We'll talk again soon.
All right.